And here we go. Shelf Life 5. I just dropped all of my books down the stairs that I wanted to chit chat about. Decompress. Here we go. Oh, I forgot some books. Had to make my pretty stack. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Cool. Let's get the other books I'm going to talk about. Put that bad boy on top. It might be a surprise. Let's relax. Whatever. Hi. I wrote out some notes for this week. I didn't really prepare, but I guess I did. Welcome to Shelf Life 5. Here we go. And first, let me apologize if you've I just had this super thick soup. So good. I feel so thick and fat right now, but my throat's a little throaty. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Okay. Allow me to apologize for the frantic shorts and frantic TikToks. I'm trying to get all of my information out in under a minute, and I have to remind myself I don't need to do this with these long format videos that I do weekly. So every episode I do this little breather. Do it with me. This is what reading is supposed to be about: chilling out, relaxing. That's why I got into it. So, and again, I have a handy dandy notebook. In the past, I've spent the entire week thinking about what am I going to say on Sunday. But today, I just sat down and I kind of barfed out what I want to talk about because it was kind of eventful, kind of not eventful. You'll figure it out what I'm talking about. So, first week of October, this was a much more balanced week. I didn't work any overtime. I took the whole weekend off. But with that being said, I still ran a bunch. I had my long run today, hence why I had that big old thick soup after. I power washed my house, and I did a decent amount of reading. Let's get into it. Let's get into what I've been reading. With it being the beginning of the month, I kind of always pay attention to the book clubs that I'm in. And right now, that is Lonesome Dove. I have my phone flipped around so I can't view what it is, so I'm making sure it gets in frame. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This book is so sick. Let's see how far I got this week. This week I'm on page 168, chapter 16. And I absolutely am loving this book. This paired with this monstrosity, The Count of Monte Cristo. Oh, I am in for it. I have two fun, awesome books. And here's the thing: I used to be intimidated of big, thick, chunky books because I thought that they're going to be so much more work. But this one, it's an epic western. It's completely approachable, and like the cast is cool because it's like it's got classic western vibes to it, but it just seems grittier. It doesn't have like the John Wayne-ness of like old movie westerns. But with that being said, the realness of the time, it's like it's so brutal. Not brutal in like a violent way, even though that's the case, but just so this is how it is out here. You're on your own. Survive. And I'm really enjoying it so far. Still a little too early to tell how things are going to work out because it's while it goes through a lot of things, it's very slow paced. And the prose, even the writing alone, not like the dialogue, but the prose is very Western. I didn't know that this was turned into a short mini series, or I don't know what it is because I haven't watched it yet, which is why I'm still interested in reading it. But in the beginning of reading this, I don't know if anyone else has this happen. If you've seen The Big Lebowski, you know Sam Elliott. And this whole time I'm reading it, it's like Sam Elliott is narrating it. And then I looked real quick. I'm like, was Sam Elliott in this? He was considered for the cast, but he was not, as far as I know. Could be wrong, but I can't wait to watch the whole thing after this is said and done. Um, Another thing is the protect. I heard this somewhere. I don't know. I've been very busy taking in book content, but I heard somewhere where someone said that not all protagonists are heroes, and Lonesome Dove is like a perfect example of this. Everyone I like and find very relatable also has qualities about them that I'm not too keen on or I'm not too privy towards. But it's everyone is still very likable so far. Like I can't really think of anyone that I'm just like totally repulsed by. But I'm really enjoying it. It's I'm very interested to see where this goes. It's very exciting. But because of this, and I've been kind of oh, spilled my water. But because it's a big book and I want it done in the month, I'm kind of sprinting at the beginning of the month. I kind of just mainly focused on this. I'm not too happy to admit. With all the fun I've been having with the Count of Monte Cristo, this week, this has taken a back seat. I know. I know. Where am I? Where am I in here? I'm at page 157 and chapter 10, Roman numerals, 15, 16, 17, The Abbey's Cell. So I remember I looked this last chapter up real quick, and it was getting good. It's still fresh in my mind, but I think next week I'm going to make it a focus to at least, because I still want to be getting good pace, good time with this one. But I think a good quick break from here into this, get a chapter or two a week, or maybe, one chapter a day because they're short enough. That would kind of balance things out. What I've been trying to do with life. Balance. Um, let's see. Balance. Slow digestible chunks. We shall see what we're going to read during the week. The thing with reading big books, and I'm going to talk about Infinite Jest right here. In my past, I've done a number of little backstory on me. I've done a number of Ironmans, and I've done a number of ultra runs. And I also, before all this, used to be a large person. I was much bigger than I was as you see me, and I spent a lot of time losing weight and gaining muscle, and then getting faster and getting slower and running farther. So when I wanted to get more into reading, I was in that phase of my life a full glutton for punishment. And I remember not having any real book community or knowing where to look for information. So I would just Google what are the hard books to read? What are, tough fiction, that's kind of modern. And Infinite Jest was top of the list along with Gravity's Rainbow. But I had heard about this one a couple of times. And it's like, well, if I can run so far, I can read, man. Like, how hard could it be? And I took my sweet time the way I would with like an ultra or with an Ironman. I'm just looking to finish. That's it. I don't want to be rereading everything 1,000 times, but this was work. And after doing this work, which was extremely rewarding, um, I was kind of intimidated of reading something like this and something like the Count of Monte Cristo in such a short period of time. Even the tunnel kind of scares me. Gravity's Rainbow scares me, but after getting into this one, like my confidence for reading is going through the roof. I feel like I'm getting the reps, I'm getting the miles in. So I find it very correlative with exercise in reading. And here's another thing, music. I can relate reading to music pretty well in that I don't know if you could tell, big metal guy. And I always used to pride myself on finding very weird, underground, obscure metal, particularly underground death metal, underground black metal. And for me, coming into um, social media and YouTube's book community, it's like the same thing with music. I'm finding the black metal version of literature. So if you have more recommendations, please send them my way. I'm not closed off to any of that. And with that being said, I got a recommendation. I don't know if you saw the short about it or the quick blah 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 that I put out, but I got a recommendation for Algernon. I always have to read his name. Algernon Blackwood's The Willows. And like I had said before, my plan was to read this a certain amount of pages every day. But for me, Fridays are weird because sometimes where I am at work, Fridays are kind of off. Excuse me, and I don't get my normal area where I work, and I kind of have to be out in public. And it's one thing if people have their phone, it's not that weird for people to finish their work, take a break, scroll their phone for a little while. I have never seen anyone just sit and rip open a book. It's like that would not work. But I can kind of get away with it, in my toolbox. But Friday, out in public, couldn't have the book. Made me anxious. So I downloaded Algernon Blackwood's The Willows, knowing it was probably the shortest one I could find. It was free on Apple iBooks app, and it was written in 1907, I want to say. And this was a fresh breath and perfect for October. It was just spooky horror, and it's up my alley because horror for me, there's like gore, and then there's ghosts and goblins and the devil, and sometimes it can be kind of hokey. But and also, it being older, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna hit, but Willows hit. Quick synopsis. I'll try not to do any spoilers, but we'll see. I try to really not talk about plot or anything out of fear of being a spoiler, but I kind of need to talk a little bit more, so we're gonna try this. It starts out, or it begins with, it's a canoe trip down the Danube River. Um, I think it's in Eastern Europe, Romania, Germania, and keeps going into Russia. And this river is huge. I looked it up. It's an actual river, but it's a big mother. So I couldn't imagine going down there on a canoe ride. But anyways, it's this gentleman and his companion, the Swede, and they just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the backwoods, into the wilderness, and they're completely removed from humankind, if you will. And they get to this area that's kind of like swamp-ish. It's just, I guess it's more of like a European Everglades of the like huge willow trees. It's just like you can't see far. You're completely enveloped, and this river just tears through it. And there's like these small islands. So these two guys, they got to stop, and they're just talking about how certain places have this creepy feeling. And I know what they're talking about. I've done a bunch of hikes. I'm a big hiker, and I know you can creep yourself out being alone in the woods. That's another thing. I do a lot of these things alone, and you can get lost in your own mind. And Algernon Blackwood did a fantastic job of showing like the paranoia and the distrust that can come, and the there's this one part. It's close to the beginning where they have to camp, and they talk about this presence, this overbearing weirdness of where they are, and they see something in the water, and something like, I think it's just something like rolls over, and they think it's like, whoa, that's a body. Like, what is going on? And I can't remember if they look away or they look at one another, but it's just like, did you see? And they look back, and it's just an otter, like jumping through the water. Like, oh, okay, that was weird. And then strangely, they see another guy. He looks a little off, and he's just going down the river in a boat, and he kind of sees the two guys setting up camp, and he's just like, and he does the sign of the cross, like, you guys picked a bad spot. And I know, like, the way it was written, it's just so. That's exactly what I felt, man. Because I remember I was on a hike once, and it was getting late, later than I needed it to, and I turned on my headlamp. And once you're exhausted and you've been out there a certain number of hours, your brain starts playing some serious tricks on you. And I remember my mantra for the whole thing was, it's just a leaf, it's just a rock. It's just a leaf, it's just a rock. And I would make jokes. I'm like, I bet that's a rock, because it's like, that looks like something horrifying. Nope, you're good. So that kind of creepy paranoia, and don't get me wrong, it's not just brain tricks. It gets way deeper, and it escalates quickly. And it's short. I think it's only like 93 pages, but I make the font real big, so it wound up being like 112 in my phone. Almost finished it in my shift, but took an extra half an hour of me at home. But that was the Willows. That was awesome. Awesome. I will definitely be checking out some more Algernon Blackwood. Back to my notes. Yeah, the climax. Uh yeah, towards the end of it, like, I felt myself like so anxious of what was going on. I caught myself like rushing through a paragraph. I'm like, you didn't absorb that paragraph, go back. And it was kind of like a tease, because it's like, it was scary, man. Like, I dug it. Let's see. Um with the chunky books going on, I've kind of given up on my last library trip. The poetry I skimmed through, it's not what I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for more of like postmodern, no rhyming, no rhythm, like the human experience kind of stuff. And I kind of stumbled onto Ezra Pound. Apparently, a great artist, terrible person, and that's how it was said from the creator that was talking about him. But I quickly went on Google Images just to catch a couple blurbs. And I'm like, this is kind of exactly what I'm looking for. So I'll be digging a little bit more into that kind of poetry. If you have any recommendations, again, please send them my way. Um, but yeah, I had some American classic. Get this, some American classic poetry, some Allen Ginsberg. I kind of shuffled through, and I was going to attempt a Shirley Jackson, but again, it's too early in the month for my anxiety, and I need to stick with what I'm shooting for. With oh, with that being said, everyone upstairs is running around like crazy. It's starting to get late, but with that being said, looking for more new poetry, something that I think that I really enjoy, versus that is going to be different than what I used to do with books. I used to just go to Borders, when Borders was Borders, Barnes and Noble, and I would just, this looks cool, and I would just pick it up just without even thinking. Now I'm being a lot more mindful in what books make their way into my house, and I kind of like, I don't want to just like, apparently it's just consumerism on a lot of book talk. I don't want to do that. And you notice I'm going to keep talking about a lot of the same books. Get used to it. But I do enjoy the real hunt. Like, all right, well, I'm saving money now. I have a lot of stuff here that I haven't read yet. Let's just focus on that. But I have like my Goodreads list, my TBR. If I happen to be in a cool store that has a bookshelf, I'm going to check it out. Like that kind of a hunt, a thrift store, tag sale. The hunting of it makes it more interesting. I don't know if anyone else is like this. Like, I kind of want the old beat up, even eBay. If I could find something like diesel on eBay, or it's hard to find, that's how I got the tunnel. I found that on eBay. It was Apparently it's hard to find. Same thing with this Gravity's Rainbow. I got this in a 3-pack because I wanted an original first edition. Sue me. Instead of just ordering one on Amazon, someone was selling this. Cool. That kind of like it makes it special. And like I don't want to just have a ton of books that are just sitting there and they never get organized. Speaking of the hunt, I was in Costco the other day and I was kind of in a rush. I like to do this thing where I try to get through Costco as fast as possible, but I saw a bunch of pages on it. I looked over and I saw a bunch of books stacked up, and I'm like, just go check it out. And I went over there. I'm happy that there are books in Costco, but it was just like everything I didn't want to see. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to name names, but it was just like, oh, it's exactly what I expected. Let's get out of here. Oh, here's another fun thing. So, I don't know how everyone feels about this. I'm previewing it, okay? I'm making it a point to read more to my boy. And we have a ton of kids' books. Some of them are just too kidsy. And like, I want something that I could read chapter by chapter every night, something he's into, something maybe with pictures. So I am going to be going through and curating my own. We're going to see if this page is appropriate, if that page is appropriate, because I don't know. But Frank Miller's Batman. My boy loves Batman. And I started reading the first couple of pages of this, and holy moly, this is sick. Before I was really, really into reading. Like, it's not that I'm not into it anymore, but I am super duper into it. Art, like painting and like this kind of illustration. Awesome. So there's definitely going to be some areas that we're going to have to skip, but I'm reading a little bit ahead of him, and then we'll read it together. I think it's a good idea. So that kind of impromptu wound up being another book on my list for the month. This sweet graphic novel. Let's see. Yeah, Frank Miller. And that's why we're here for you know, just to share what we're doing with books, what I've been reading, my goals and aspirations for the month. For the month, I'm just gonna keep slamming Lonesome Dove. I want to salt and pepper in some more Count of Monte Cristo. I'm kind of treating the count kind of like Infinite Jest. We're gonna finish it, hopefully by the end of the year. But it's so good, I just don't want to plow through. Kind of like I have to with Lonesome Dove. Not that I have to, but it's like it's a fun challenge and it's super consumable. And the story is just sick. So maybe I'll get. And here's another thing: the I'm gonna need more Friday books, more digital. I call it stealth reading whenever I'm reading on my phone because it's like I'm not just sitting there with a book, or even like you're at a social event, you could be reading or you could be playing with your phone. Nobody really knows. It's like, but I like to just be like, oh, pocketbook. You know what I mean? So stealth reading, more digital on my phone books. So I'm gonna be looking for a couple more of those this month. Lonesome Dove, The Count When I Can, and Frank Miller's fun. This is great. I think that's it, guys. This has been very. It's been. This is week 5 of Shelf Life, and I just want to say, after it's been a month, thank you guys. Like, I'm getting more subscribers. I'm loving the interaction. I'm loving the like. I've been part of a number of online communities before, but this book one it has been the most welcoming, the most appreciative, and the most like just straight up helpful, the most interactive thus far. At least everyone I've been dealing with. So thank you a ton. If you like this, if you have questions, if you have comments, please share them. Please like and subscribe. I'm not shy about that. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends who are into books that Macaroni Books is around, and yeah, check out what I'm doing and watch me slowly consume all these pages because we're all just trying to get out of our phone, get some good recommendations, and move onward and upward. With that, Shelf Life 5 in the bag, in the books, in the pages. I don't know. But this is Joe, over and out, sign out. Arrivederci, ciao, and I'll see you guys next week. Love you all.